that was the news that was. You know, I don't know how you feel about my weekly blogs about the news. I try to bring you information. And it's always interesting. As a young man, the only thing I read was the sports columns. Now I read most things. And I always find it interesting how people behave. And this week, I'm going to use the word, we're looking at the word stupidity. And it reverberates between the three stories I've chosen to highlight. In one of them, person I don't have any respect for appears. I'm starting to get less and less respect for our Prime Minister. And I should explain why. But the stories I'm going to look at is how much would somebody have to earn to get a visa in this country? The Rwanda deal. And finally, Covid Enquiry with Boris. Sounds like Jackanory. But let's first of all talk about the Rwanda deal. It was announced that to get an automatic visa in this country, you'd have to earn £38,500. As I said before, please do not take my word for anything I say. Consider what I say. I'll bring you the facts and see if you agree with me or not. So £38,500. I thought that's rather prohibitive. Then I had what they call an epiphany. I get them occasionally. I thought I'd look up what's the national average wage. 34,960. So straight away you're asking somebody to get £3,000 above. Well, we want to be precise. £3,540 above what is the national average. That is rather stupid. Then I thought I'd play around with figures, and I worked out, well, a person earning the minimum wage, which is the national minimum wage, per hour by 35 hours a week for a year. That was at 18,000. So what are our people, government, who put forward these figures? They're saying anybody who's not middle management, well, this is, I think, more than some middle management earns. You can leave our country and not even consider. As we have a problem with migrants at the moment, we have quite a few. They can't come. Most of them will be refused. Unless, of course, they're running from some sort of like terrible place. But even then, we have a solution for them. Because we want to get the weight it is on our financial burden. I agree there. I don't agree with the solution. And it still puts a weight on our financial burden. And now I'm going to talk about Rwanda. It's a nice segue, isn't it? We have actually already paid to Rwanda government £146 million so far. So already we've paid, and that's without the cost of flights, and other things. Presumably we'll have to pay for charter flights. I did that years ago when I was in travel business. They're not cheap to charter an airplane. But on Monday, Mr. James Cleverly, the Home Secretary, I don't think the title suits in the name. There's nothing there. If you may remember, I spoke last week about Mr. Cleverly, formerly being the Foreign Secretary, did nothing, just swung around the world. Now he does this. He came back and announced that there's a new bill they want to put through, which will be voted on next Tuesday. And in it is the British government announced that Rwanda is a safe place to go to. Now, if you may remember, all these court judges have said it's not. But no, it's okay. British judgment, it's like me saying to you, it's okay, you can walk underwater. It's okay, you know. Don't worry about it. What the most nonsensical thing to do. They've even put certain items in it about people appealing. They can appeal, but they've got to be careful. And he announced that there's been quite an interesting thing happening because of this. The ex-Home Secretary, Sue Ellen Braverman, Widemouth as I call her, stood up to, I think, make a speech, and she said, we're not going far enough. You know, she was against the bill, this bill that Cleverly produced, because actually at one point she was talking about the military being called in. Have we asked for the military to be called in? No. But see, with Sue Ellen Braverman, Widemouth, I'm scared that at one stage, if ever she got into a position of that sort of power, we were going to have a state run. We have a state run. We'll have a dictatorship. Yeah, we talk about, people talk about Trump doing it. I think her intelligence is, she's an intelligent woman. But why this? So she did. At the same time, Mr. Robert Jenrick, who was the immigration minister, resigned. He didn't agree with the bill. And it is a rather draconian bill. Then yesterday, our Prime Minister stood up, Mr. Sunak, and said, you must get behind the bill. He fobbed questions off of the press, just with a robot way. This is a totally different man to we saw at the Tory conference, where he was talking about educate children. No longer will be able to smoke at 14. Bills. This is quite a different man. Not strong, I wouldn't say. Obstinate, I would say. This bill has to go first through Parliament. Already there's quite a number of MPs have voiced themselves, Tory and others, that they don't like it. Now what could happen is, if they don't like it, Mr. Sunak can encourage the whip. Nice title. I'm sure it comes from some BDSM area. And they'll be ejected from the Tory party. But he's got other problems as well. One of my friends was watching it and I didn't see it. My eyesight isn't that brilliant. Here's they were showing the WhatsApps at the Covid Enquiry. And you remember that statement, why should we bother anyway? They're going to die, or they're going to die, why should we bother anyway? It is attributed in that WhatsApp message to Mr. Sunak. Maybe that's why I didn't ask Boris the question. And let's go on to the Covid Enquiry. Because the last 2 days we've had Boris the clown. I saw a picture pasted on the shed of him, painted on some gate walls to be precise, of Boris as a clown. And yesterday he proved he was. At the beginning, as soon as he sat down, he started blabbing on about an apology to people. And he's not the first person to do this. Grove did it. Hancock. I think Rob did it, although Rob, I'm not sure. And he was asked several questions about the WhatsApp messages. So this is the second phone that he put in. He gave permission for his WhatsApp messages on his phone to be shared. Well, the first phone is 5,000, I should say, messages that aren't there. Now, I don't know if you use WhatsApp. I do. Use it for years. You can set the WhatsApp in several ways. You can set it to back up and use it backed up to a cloud. You set your message even to disappear shortly after you've sent them. And normally, say you reset, you go to a different phone, you just press a button, it will say, you put your number in. Have you got something to back up? Have you got messages backed up? They will come down. But according to the brief at the time, he said there are 5,000 messages missing. This was before Mr. Johnson called for this very inquiry that he's standing at. Now, this is suspicious. He was asked, as you may remember that phone, he couldn't get into it, he couldn't remember the password. That is possible. Thinking the amount of passwords you have to remember now. And they did something called a factory reset the whole phone. When asked about the factory reset, he didn't understand it. I'm going to be fair to him on this, as someone who's taught people who use devices, computers and that. And I want to share a funny story. I used to help teach IT at the connection of St Martin's. And we were donated 6 phones from Vodafone. So we went through it all, the normal things that you think about. Setting up your account, downloading an app, using it, most usages. And then at the end of it, most of them, the phones went, but one person said he didn't want one. Scared of it. But we handed out the phones. And a few days later I came in just to discuss what we were going to do for the next period. I happened to see one of the guys who had received the phone. I said, "Hi Tim, how's it going with your new phone? He says, it's not working, it's broke. I thought, what had he done to it? I said, what do you mean it's broke? He said, well, I charged it up for half an hour and it won't go on. And I realised the one thing we forgot to say to them, normally, most, in those days, smartphones, 2 hours on it, and then finally you get a full charge. Totally forgot. I'm lucky now, my phone, my latest phone, charge it up for half an hour, it's fully charged up. But these were many years ago. So, and this fellow wasn't stupid. He was very intelligent, always asking questions about computers, wants to learn. So, that's a person. Boris, on the other hand, people talked about him being a bumbling fool, and that's the person we saw at this Covid Enquiry, trying to keep his shirt tails clean. They purely stunk of everything. There was nothing there. This wasn't a man who you thought would run the country. This was a clown. There's a lot of questions were asked, and he kept on to have a reply. I don't remember. Actually, he was shown a message, a WhatsApp message, and asked about it. He says, who said that? It was you, Mr. Johnson, was the reply. I don't know. Remember, this is the man who actually called for this inquiry. I don't think he knew what he was doing. I think he was trying to show, look, I'm the Prime Minister. I can do these sort of things. I'll call for an inquiry. And there were lots of things. He was asked about, remember, if you may remember, he went around shaking people's hands after he announced. He said, I'm going to go around shaking people's hands. You may remember I mentioned a few weeks ago, what about caution? And he now says, oh, maybe I made a mistake. When they did the 8 Eat Out scheme, it so happens that the chief medical officer and the chief scientific advisor were not part of these talks. They decided it was fair. This could be because to keep the economy going. He admitted it probably was wrong. They were too slow in calling for a lockdown. That's the reason why we've had 2. Now, but then it throws light on Mr. Sunak. Was he involved in any way? Yes, he was. I'm really looking forward to next Monday. Now, this is going to be juicy, but here's a question for you, my dear listeners. Can he remain Prime Minister if, proven beyond all call, he made that statement? He'll deny it, because that statement of why should we bother anyway is a damning one. I would not want a Prime Minister who said that. And then what will happen? Well, he's there Monday. On Tuesday it's the vote, which will probably be rejected. I think so. I'm not sure. Stranger things have happened. Because right now the whips, oh, what a great name. The whips are going around to all their party members in the Conservative Party to make sure they're going to vote that way. Already we got Widemouth, she's going to vote against it. I'm sure a few others. I'd love an interview with Jenrick. Why did he go? And he's been around for quite a while. He was even the Minister of Housing with Grover's now for a period of time. So this is a person who was used to this sort of thing. I wouldn't say he was effectual. I wonder if we had a study of all the ministers and the prime ministers of the last 5 years, would they prove any good? I don't think so. So I said, consider what I've said. Don't take my word as gospel. I will present you the facts, but I also present you my own viewpoint on the matter. Your viewpoint can be different. If it is, that is your right. So you can email me on Ian Kalman, IANKALMAN at GeorgeMichaelX-ray.com. Let me know what you think. Have a nice weekend. Bye.